Hi, grade 4. I wish you are all okay. Today, inshallah, we are going to take chapter 6. Where is Robert? As we know, Lucy traveled back home to bring Robert another time traveled phone to go back home to London. So Robert, Molly, and Toby walked in London streets, but a gang of pickpockets jumped on them. They wanted another time travel phone from Robert. Robert didn't have a one, but the gang didn't believe him, so the gang leader took Robert to a house in Fish Street Hill. The gang leader looked angry. The pickpockets locked Robert in a dark room at the bottom of the house. Okay, let's move to page 26. Let's move to page 26. The room in which Robert sat in wasn't good. It was hot and smelly. Robert heard rats. He hated rats. Okay, he remembered that he must go out. He knew he must get out of that dark, smelly room to tell the baker that his job will caught fire. When Lucy traveled back to the present, Granddad didn't want her to go back to 1666 again, but she had to help Robert. He felt worried about her. Lucy returned to London in the afternoon. In this time, she knew that Robert isn't there. She knew Robert was in real danger, so they went to search for Robert. Toby talked to many people, but no one knew where Robert was. The children went to search for Robert. They went night. The children were still looking for Robert. He was screaming, so when he was screaming, they heard him. Toby leaned in the window and reached down. Hold my hand, he said, and I'll pull you up. The girls held on Toby. Robert climbed out of the window. Thank you, he said. Oh, thank you. Then he saw Lucy. You're back, he exclaimed. Of course I am. She laughed. Have you got another time travel phone? Lucy took one from her pocket and showed it to him. In this chapter, we know the gang took Robert, but at the end, the children could find him again. Let's move to our booklet, page 92, chapter 6. Where's Robert? Let's read our summary. Robert, Toby, and Molly went to explore London. A gang of pickpockets jumped on them. Molly ran away screaming. They caught Robert and took him to a house in Fish Street Hill. The gang wanted another phone from Robert. They sold the old one to a rich gentleman, and he wanted another phone. They locked Robert in a dark, smelly room. It was full of rats. Robert hated rats. Robert shouted because he was frightened and he remembered the fire. At the same time, Lucy arrived to the present. Then she returned to London again, but with two time travel phones. They went out to search for Robert. They searched a lot, but they didn't find him. At 1 o'clock, the children reached Fish Street Hill. A rat bit Robert and he screamed. The children heard him. They found the room. Toby leaned and held Robert's hand. The girls pulled them. Robert was saved. Answer the following. What did Molly do when she saw the gang? She ran away screaming. What did the gang do with Robert? They took him to a house at Fish Street Hill. What did the gang want from Robert? They wanted another mobile phone. Complete. The gang locked Robert in a dark, smelly room. It has a bad smell. The gang took Robert to a house at Fish Street Hill. The gang sold the phone to a rich gentleman. This is the end of this chapter. See you again in chapter 6. Sorry, in chapter 7.